Hello and welcome to my video. This is a painting that I did last night for my Zoom class, and it's basically how to paint a picture just using grey, although I did add some Japanese red and a bit of white, but that's basically it. The landscape is just Payne's grey with a fair amount of oil in it, not to the point where it's drippy, but obviously so that the paint is mobile. So let's see, what are we going to do today? I think I'm going to probably finish off a few little paintings that I'm giving away to my patrons. Depending on how fast that goes, maybe I will actually paint a new picture, but I honestly don't know. We'll see what happens. This is the first of probably 6 paintings that I'm going to finish off today. There isn't a lot to do to this one. And in fact, I've already signed it, so maybe I assumed it was finished. So what can I do to it just to sort of perk it up a little bit? I honestly don't know. This sounds terribly disorganized of me, but I am terribly disorganized. So there you go. It's actually quite an accurate representation. Right. What are we going to do? Let's, just using my hand, it's got a nice sky, but I think I'm just going to sort of just enhance a few little bits of cloud just there. It's going to be very quick, this one. Just a little tickle in that area. And it's typical, isn't it? I just started, and you may be able to hear it in the background, but the grass is being cut outside. I don't think it'll be too bad. In fact, I think there's a way with my video editing software that I can suppress background sounds. Now you may know, I'd like to know, you may notice that I've upped the volume a little bit on this video, because sometimes, even though on my computer they seem fine, I do get the odd complaint about it not being loud enough. So anyway, I've sort of boosted it a little bit. Let me know if you have any problems hearing what I'm saying. So there we are. This is a very quick one, this. Just a few little highlights in the sky. Total minimum, I think that's probably it. So I'm not going to give away full names, but this one is going to one of my patrons, and this one is for Parsley. So you know who you are, obviously. And there we are, there's your painting. So all I need to do is varnish it, and then I'll get it in the post to you. And there we go. Right, so that's that one. Okay, this is number 2. I don't have a name assigned to this one yet. I don't know who's going to get it. But if I do actually figure it out while I'm painting, I'll put the name on the screen. And, but anyway, this one needs a little bit more work done to it. It's not bad little, well, I mean, I shouldn't say, should I? Maintain a little bit of modesty. This one needs a little bit more doing to it. I'm going to perk the sky up a bit, but also I want to get a few more interesting contrasts in the landscape. So let's just go for it. So up here, I think that needs just a little bit of solidifying. I've got a little bit too much brown in that. So, well, what brown meaning red ochre. Do I use much else? Well, actually I do, and I used to, when I was younger, I used to use all kinds of colours in paintings, but the older I get, the more I seem to have settled into these basic, simple colours, which I think is good for the teaching side, because it actually communicates, I hope, to people that you don't need to spend a lot of money if you want to start oil painting. You only need 2 or 3 tubes to get going, and you know, with those 2 or 3 tubes, you can decide whether you want to continue, and I hope you do. because it's, you know, not that expensive. And if you imagine selling a painting too, which does happen, you know, people sell paintings, it'll start paying for itself. But don't kid yourself, it does take a certain amount of dedication to get going. And but one day, you know, a bit like riding a bike, it all comes together. But you know, it's the same with anything. You can't do it for a couple of weeks and then quit thinking, oh, I'll never be able to do it. You've got to work at it. And if you don't work at it, you'll never know. So, as you can see, I'll try not to state the obvious, but sometimes I have to, because well, I suppose it's all part of the teaching process. I've made that considerably darker, as you can see, and I want to sort of pull that across just a little bit, get a little bit of darkness over there. Don't think of it as darkness, think of it as some interesting shadow and contrast. Darkness sounds very doomy, doesn't it? So that's not what I'm after. I'm after mood. And you can have a light mood in a painting, but I really like the dark moods. It's just me, I suppose. I hope I'm not getting in the way. I don't think I'm getting too much in the way. So, what am I doing here? Well, this is not some philosophical talk about the meaning of life, but I mean, what am I doing here on this painting? Well, I'm just sort of pushing paint around to find the point where I need to stop. And it won't be long. But I think already, you see, now I've got that nice dark bit of the hill there, which means that I can put things into it that are light. Now, I could have put things on it that were light earlier, but it wouldn't have had the same impact. I'm going to use this similar colour for these foreground trees. Well, actually, they're foreground blobs, aren't they? They will look like trees because that's the way the eye and the brain interprets things. It's going to say, oh, that has to be a tree. Now, I'm using the grippers on this painting here because it's small. And, you know, with these easels, there's a shelf. It's sitting on the shelf. I want to get to the bottom of the painting. If I shove it to the back of the shelf, it's harder to get to the foreground. So that's why I do this. It's a bit precarious. It can drop off, but, you know, there you go. You never know. It might drop off, bounce across the floor, and collect a few marks on the way that make the painting interesting. If that happens, tell people it was deliberate. There we go. So there's some nice moody dark bits. I think I'm going to have another slightly taller tree shape here. So yeah, what am I using? Great big, well, it's not enormous. This is a 3 centimetre brush. As you can see, extremely ragged on the top, which is good because it gives you lots of different brushes. And depending on how you turn it and twist it, depends on the sort of marks that you will make. Let's have something there. Now I'm putting these on very roughly, these marks, so I can use a piece of paper to wipe them off, or wipe back, not wipe off necessarily, but wipe back. I'm going to do a little bit of work on the sky in a moment, so I'm not worried about that sort of furry edge to the landscape. In fact, the furrier it is, or the more furry, the furiosity is quite useful. It just makes things look a bit more interesting. Let's take that back there, push that up into the sky with a bit of smudge to get a bit of light behind the hill. I don't want complete doom and gloom, you know. And what happens when I do that? Yep, I like that. That's good. It's a very small thing, you know. It's just a touch, but they all build up and add to the picture. We hope they do, anyway. Okay, so along there, fading off into the light on that edge, just very slightly. Foreground's looking okay. I'm thinking of maybe putting in a hint of yellow ochre or light green. I wonder, I've got an awful lot of light green. I've got to get rid of it somehow, so maybe I'll use light green instead. For those of you who don't know, I mean, I'm not quite sure whether I put it on in my description box, but the colours, the paint that I use is Le Franken Bourgeois, which is obviously a French make. Well, it sounds very French, doesn't it? But when you look at the back of it, it says made in China. So I suppose it's French Chinese paint. Anyway, I suppose it was originally French. But anyway, now I'm thinking that I will use a palette knife. As you know, probably by now, I don't plan my paintings. I just like to see what happens. So let's do that. So I've got it's not a lot of paint, it's just along that edge there. So when I turn it, it's on the top edge. And the thing is to not overdo it. Don't overdo. Let's just have a little bit of just a few little hints around the painting. That's actually working quite nicely. So for this, I'm not ironing the colour on, I'm dabbing it. I suppose I could have dabbed with a brush, but it seems just, I don't know, maybe it's more exciting with a palette knife. Don't know. So I'm just going to okay, maybe that's all that needs there. You see, it's a reasonable distance away from us, so you know it's going to be twinkles of colour. What should we do here? What indeed? Let's have so we've got twinkles. Let's have a sort of solid. If I can actually get it to work. Let's have a little blaze of light just there. That seems to work quite nicely. And then possibly something down here to sort of lead you up and across. That's one way of thinking of it. Let's just have a little bit more there. I've got a 2-day event coming up. So today is Sunday, the day I'm painting this, Sunday the 15th of October. Yes, he said, checking the calendar. When you reach a certain age, you know, and you're sort of, I'm not, it's weird this, I don't consider myself retired. I'm well past retirement age, but I don't actually want to retire. I'd like to keep going. But anyway, so yeah, that's why I lose track of days. Anyway, in a few days, or next Saturday and Sunday, I'm doing a 2-day event on Zoom where I'll be showing people how to paint snow. So if you want to come to that, the link will be below. And then the following Saturday, I will be doing, I don't know what I'll be doing actually. That'll be the 28th of October. I might actually do another tree. I quite enjoy painting trees, and they're very therapeutic. And it'll be a tree like the one that's on the screen now, which I did recently. But what I'd really like to do is paint that much bigger. That's actually 60 centimetres by 80. I'd like to do something that's actually double that, because it would be, you know, a nice thing to do over a couple of days, and it's nice and leisurely. Oh, now that's interesting. It'd be a nice leisurely sort of painting, and for things like that, which look highly detailed, I think it's good to sort of take your time, paint for a few minutes, let people catch up, do some sort of critiques of how people are doing so far, you know, at a certain point in the painting, and then carry on. But anyway, it's two days, and the link will be for that too in the description box. Right, okay, how is that looking? Okay, not too bad. Just want to sort of, there we go, just calm it down just a touch. That's okay. Right, so it's just, you know, just a little, is it a landscape or is it a study? I don't know. Anyway, let's have a few marks down here, just for the heck of it, eh? I think that might do. So it's recently agitated land, agitated agricultural sort of thing, I suppose. But it's painting without drawing. You know, it's for the people who want to do this sort of thing, who think they can't paint because they don't draw. You don't need to draw. It'll appear. Anyway, so there we go, that's quite interesting there, I think. Right, so anyway, someone will get this. I hope by now I've probably put the name on the screen. I'll decide by the time I finish the painting anyway. And I think that might be it for the landscape part. So now I'm going to just do a little bit on the sky. Right, I'm going to get a palette knife and just put a few white bits in the sky and then smooth them down a bit and see what happens. The sky as it is at the moment is actually completely dry. So anything I do to it, you know, I can't ruin it, let's put it that way. I'd have to work hard to ruin it now. There's a dent in the wood, just there. Yeah, I think you can probably see it. I might actually fill that with paint, so that on the finished painting you won't know there's a dent. So what am I doing here? Again, I keep asking myself that question. I don't know, it's just shapes. Think of clouds just as shapes. Don't think of them as clouds. As soon as you get it in your head that I'm painting a cloud, it becomes a difficult thing to do because everyone thinks clouds are difficult. They're not actually difficult. They're different. I think we'll just sort of do this. I'll be smoothing that out in a minute, but that's basically it. Just shapes. Just paint shapes until the clouds appear. Think of it that way. Let's have a little bit more there. Okay, I think that's good. And now I'm just going to smooth it This is the same smoothing brush I used last night. Now you can see there's a little bit of grey on it, so we'll get rid of that. Again, just a reminder, no turpentine. Just wipe the brush. Even if a bit of grey comes off this, it won't matter. It'll probably add to the sky. So really light, just to sort of blur them down a bit. Somebody put a comment on one of my YouTubes yesterday saying, why not have some parts of the painting where you don't speak and you just play some music? What do you think of that? Would you like that? I mean, I can do it, but I don't mind talking. It's, you know, and I know people seem to want me to talk. And I want to talk because that's the best way to teach people what you're doing. You can show, you know, you can teach by example, but you do need a certain number of verbs and nouns thrown in just to make sense of it. So, yeah, what do you think about background music? Anyway, there we are. That's pretty well it, I think. There's a nice rogue hair there. It's got that. A quick little bit of landscapery. Complete with rogue bristles. Get off and walk. Come on. There we go. So that's number 2. On to the next one. Okay, painting number 3, I think. I lose track. This one, who is this? Who is this going to? I don't know, but I'll put the name on the screen when I figure it out. Now, this is another small one, obviously, and it's sort of okay. There's a few things I don't like. The paint on the sky for the whites is actually quite thick. Now, that's not a problem. I quite like that effect. What's this? A little bit of grey on that. That's gone. So yeah, I don't mind a few ridges in the white. I could peel them off a bit with the palette knife. And in fact, the more I think about it, the more I'm leaning that way. Let's see, which one to use? Let's try it. This one's got quite a good blade on it, so maybe we'll have a go with that. I just want to peel back a little bit, and then I'll re-establish the whites once I've done that. So there's a bit there that could probably come off. I think this was, I think it was a Zoom class, I'm not sure. Could have been. So let's just cut that back a bit. You see, everything about a painting is salvageable. If you think you've ruined a painting because of thick paint, don't worry about it, it all comes off. It's just a question of what grade of sandpaper you use sometimes, or what kind of axle grinder. But anyway, you can just peel off paint with a palette knife like this. It's a good thing about skies, you see, they're so, you don't particularly have to be precise with a sky. I can take this off, put new paint on, and you won't even know. It's well dry, I have to say. What I would call a crispy painting. So along here, I've got quite a pile of paint there. Also got some grey on my hand that keeps coming off. So I'll get rid of that. And right, so this compositionally, I don't like that shape. It's just something that is not pleasing about it. Hard to explain, but it just needs to be changed, so it will. So there's a little bit of a build-up of paint there, not too much, not going to worry about that. These are okay. The reason it's got thick paint on it is because it was, as I said, it was done as a, I'm pretty sure anyway, it was done as a Zoom class, and it's done very fast. I only have an hour of painting. So the paintings are literally thrown together. So there's no, how can I put it? There's no real finesse. It's just, as I said, thrown together. Actually, that's an improvement already, but I'm going to sort of try to improve it a little bit more. That's got a bit of a build up there, but it's bearable. That's okay. That's not so bad. Right. Foreground I'm going to darken, mostly, but the sky, let's get into the sky. What should we do? Let's have, first thing is I'm going to just use a brush for the white, just to break up some shapes that I don't like that one. Just didn't like that. I think it might have been that dark spot in the sky that I didn't like. It's all right, but you know, when you've had several weeks of looking at a painting, you tend to generally see what's wrong, or what is it not necessarily wrong, but what you don't like. Which doesn't mean to say it's wrong, because to someone else it may be very right. Okay, now. That's not looking so bad. And in fact, it's a shame I can't, I mean, I could, you know, these are going to be varnished before I send them off, but you can't really video the effect of varnish. You get a bit of an image about, but not an image, you get a bit of an idea about what happens to a painting when you varnish it, but it does actually make quite a transformation. All the colours become much more vibrant and iridescent. So let's see, what should we do here? Let's have something now. Now I'm really hoping you can't hear the lawnmower going outside the window. Maybe you can, maybe I'll be able to get rid of it later. But perhaps now would be a good time for me to pause until the chap's finished. Couple more dabs and then I'll pause this one because it's pretty well it for the sky. There we are. And a quick blur. Right, so I think the sky is fine like that. Now what I'm going to do is just darken the foreground. It seems to be something I do often in paintings, and there is a reason, and that is because if you darken the foreground it will appear closer to you. So it's by way of a glaze. It looks like I'm painting grass here, but I'm not. But that is a way to paint grass if you want to. It's actually quite a quick way to do it. Let the brush make the individual blades of grass, but that's not what we're after here. All I'm doing is just doing that. Just pulls it towards us. Focuses the attention over here. That's what I hope it does anyway. It tends to work. Right, so there we go. It's not a long alteration to the picture really. Didn't take long. But of course, I'm never totally satisfied. I'm just going to do a little bit of pushing around with a bit of paper. Just to give it a, slightly different dimension just there. Just a hint of what could be a path, I suppose, or if not a path, just a change in the type of vegetation. Just sort of see what happens. And I think I'm reasonably happy with that. And this is actually white paint here, that streak. And I think just before I finish off on this, I'll just add a little bit of light green. I think we'll have a little bit there. Just tiniest touch. And then I think just a little bit on the other side. Here. And I think that's that, or that's it for that painting. I think I'm happy with that. Yep. Okay, so on to the next one. Okay, so the next one. This is for one of my students, patrons, Lindsay, who actually came here for lessons a few years ago. And apparently she likes clouds, so you're going to get this one whether you want it or not. Now it's a very tall painting, obviously, and my room is getting smaller by the minute, so I'll just sort of get in the way here so as not to distract you. Anyway, that's the edge. It's a bit of a messy background, but literally don't know where to put stuff. Tall and thin. I'll put the dimensions on the screen later, in case you're interested. But so I think for this one, I'll zoom in. You've got the overview of it. So if I just sort of fill the picture on the widths, and I think I'll start with the landscape part, which is almost as I want it. Position. Do I actually want to do much to that? Very little, actually. So I think maybe we'll go to the clouds. I do quite like the landscape. Let me just have a little think. I can always cut out. If there's too much thinking, I'll just cut it out. Thinking. Okay, I think what I'll do is I'll add a little bit of white to these lower clouds. Just a few white highlights, and then I'll move up to the top. But I think the actual landscape bit is reasonably atmospheric. So let's start there. Right, so I'll start off with a brush. I might use a palette knife later, I don't know, we'll see. So as white as I can get it. It's got a bit of grey in it, but well, I could get it whiter. I don't know what I'm talking about half the time. Right, so let's just sort of put a few highlights to these clouds here. This is not the final thing. You know the way I work probably by now. I'm going to be wiping away some stuff in a minute. This has been dry for a long time, this painting. So this is, I suppose, this is glazing more than anything. So there we are. That's how difficult glazing can be. Okay. Do I like that? Not totally, no. I'm going to get some clean white paint, because that's sort of grey is okay, but I do want a little bit of white. Okay, as usual, the only white I use, titanium white. And I'm going to do a little bit of finger painting on this, just the odd. Some people, I do appreciate the fact some people are very sensitive to oil paint, so obviously if you are, don't get paint all over your hands. It doesn't seem to worry me. I was a bit concerned a few weeks ago that I did get a bit of a reaction after one of my Zoom classes, but that seems to have gone away, thank goodness. There we are. Now, just a reminder, I'm going to do a collaboration video with a watercolour artist soon. I'll be talking to him tomorrow, in fact. His name is Robert Mee, M-E-E. He's a watercolour artist, very, very good. And we're going to paint, well, not exactly the same subject, similar thing, a seascape with some chalk cliffs, that sort of thing. And he's going to do his in watercolour, I'm going to do mine in oil. And then we'll be interchanging during the video. So in other words, I'll do my sky, he'll do his sky. And I anticipate that it'll be faster for him because watercolour is quite a quick medium. And then so I'll do my sky, he'll do his, then I'll do the cliffs, he'll do his, well, so, you know, I'll cut back and forth. It'll be interesting anyway to see all the different approaches. And while we're on the subject of watercolour, I keep getting asked about acrylics. I don't use acrylics. I have used it. I don't like acrylics. It's just doesn't suit me. And you can probably see, oh no you can't, but this big tree that I painted recently, which is now on the screen, I've had several people ask whether that can be done in acrylics. Well, you could paint a big tree in acrylics, but it won't be the same technique because, and I know you can use a retarder to keep the acrylics wet, but it's just not going to be, you know, it's not going to be like oil paint. So by all means, have a go. Let me know how you got on. Maybe you have your own page on Facebook that you can direct me to so I can have a look. Or if you want, you could join, there's a group somebody started for me called Students of Stuart Davies. And I guess if you're learning off of YouTube, you could call yourself a student of moi. So it doesn't mean to say that you had to actually come here and have lessons or have private lessons on Zoom. So yeah, you could join that group if you look in Facebook, Students of Stuart Davies, you know, apply to join, and you could show me your acrylic painting of the tree if you want. Anyway, so that's there's a little bit of cloud. Now I could leave it exactly as it is, but I won't. I'm going to take the smoothing brush and just sort of blur it slightly. Like so. Yeah, I think that's okay. What do I need to do? Let me think. I'm still wondering about the actual landscape part, but I do like it. I think it works reasonably well. There's a jump from this area back to those hills over there. That's quite a nice, nice transition. I think I'm just going to push a little bit of paint there, like that, just to break the line slightly, because it was a little bit straight across. I think that's going to work. So working up the painting, let's see what we can do to that bit. Now there is some glazing here, but I want to bring some of it back to white. There's also some spots, obviously a bit of splash from another painting, so I'm going to just work on that bit there, just to get rid of it a bit. And again, just using my hand, just to sort of cover them up, basically. Quick patch-up job. That's all it is. Oh, and there's some over the other side as well. Okay. Slight ghost image of cloud just there. Okay, so that bit there is certainly needs cleaning up a bit. Let's just adjust that a little bit more. It's a very tall painting. I didn't realise till I started fiddling with it how tall it is. Right, so yeah, I've got some dark spots here. Let's get rid of those first, then these. Don't worry about what it does to the clouds, because, you know, clouds are always shifting. So why can't they shift on your painting? There we are. That seems quite atmospheric, but I think I might connect it to this, just a touch. I don't like, you know, isolated blobs. I do like there to be a link, even if it's tenuous, just a little something. Just to sort of bridge. That's actually not too bad. And let's have a look at the top of the painting now. Now there's always, it always happens, let me just check my focus. Because of the way my easel grips, there's always a bit where there's no paint. Same at the bottom, but the person that I'm sending this to will probably get it framed, and the frame would cover that part of the picture. So rather than me try to match it up exactly now, I'm not going to bother. Let's just hide it in the frame. So what should we do up here? It's a nice effect. I could probably enhance the edge of that, maybe. And that, and then up here. Yeah, so if you can use your hands, you know, and you don't have a reaction from the paint, have a go at this. It's a very pleasing way to make clouds, actually. It's just that, you know, fingers seem to make a mark that's the right sort of scale. So there we go. Right. Not going to do much in there. Maybe just a hint of. I always do this. I say I'm not going to do much, and then I do it. It's terrible, isn't it? A few little tiny bits. Nothing up there. Don't need to worry about that. That's going to probably be okay like that. So let's Okay, and I'm going to go over this with a brush in a moment to just blur the bits that I've added. What's going on there? I've got a bit of a spot down there. Right. Okay. Right then. And then I'll move on to, I think, one more painting, because I actually want to get this up on YouTube today. Sunday apparently is the best day, according to my statistics, for uploading a video. So I'll go as fast as I can. And if I do get it up in time today, it'll be a premiere, so I'll be there to answer questions. Or if not, if there aren't any questions, just to say hello. Okay, let me move this back a touch, give you more of an overview. So yeah, quick touch with a dry brush. And there we are, another one bites the dust. Okay, on to the next. But before I do that, I will just zoom in and scroll it up so you can see. Ooh. So you can see everything. Okay, nice sort of atmospheric feel through here. I'm quite pleased with that. And then up through the sky. My goodness, it goes on forever. Okay, next one. Right, the next one. Obviously this is considerably bigger than the others. Measurements, what's the measurement? Well, my hand is 9 inches from thumb to fingertip, so that's about 32 inches, something like that. So it's a fair size, but size is not important, as they say. The paintings that I'm giving away, I'm not sort of saying, oh, well, they're all going to be one size. It depends on, you know, which painting I feel like giving away, and this just happens to be one of them. Right, so what are we going to do? I'm going to do some work on the sky, but that'll come next, after I've fiddled with the landscape a bit. And there's just a few little compositional bits that I want to change. I quite like this tree, that's okay, but I haven't actually made it clear how close that is to us, you see. Now, it's a common mistake. It's related too closely to the distance, so therefore it looks like a giant tree in the distance. So what I want to do is bring this forward, and I also want to get rid of these 3 blobs. So how are we going to do that? Well, it's actually quite simple, really. First is stop them being 3 blobs, and then bring all of this to the foreground by doing something like this. In fact, I might take that line across that way. I think I prefer that. So nice and dark in here. Let's have another bushy tree type thing there, which will turn more into a tree in a minute. More of a tree, less of a lollipop. There we go. You can have a little bit of land showing just through that gap there. It's quite nice. But to bring it forward, I need to strengthen things. So I'm going to darken the tree, because it's actually against quite a light sky, so it's going to look quite dark. So there we are. I won't worry about the trunks underneath yet. I'll change those in a while. Let's just up this contrast here. Bring that right down there. In fact, I might paint over the light area that's through there, just with a bit of a scumble. It'll be quite dramatic, not dramatic, drastic sometimes. Just sort of, you know, if you want to fix something, fix it. Don't gently push stuff around, hoping it'll get fixed. You have to actually do it with a bit of purpose. Let's get some nice textures in there. Okay, so that sort of brings that in the foreground. But don't worry about it. It looks like a sort of paper silhouette cutout type thing at the moment, but that will change. So I'm not going to take this tree up anymore because I'm going to do something to the sky. I won't do much to the sky here, but it'll start in that sort of area. So that will that explains that, I hope. Okay, let's darken this bush just a little bit more. Get some darker tones just through here. I'm not going to touch that little pimply tree thing there too much, not above the skyline anyway. And then over here, let's just get some darks. I want to turn it into more of an evening picture with a bright sky, if that makes sense. Makes sense to me. But I think I'm at the time in life when the weirdest things make sense to me. Okay, and I'm more happy with that because it was on the crest of a hill that was too far away. I want this to be the distancy bit here, which of course is a new term I've just made up, the distancy bit, and a distancy bit there, and a hint of a distancy bit here. But I want to get stuff in their right planes, so to speak. So I'll just let that sit for a minute while I have a think about it. Now I've got some Japanese red and a bit of white here, so I'm going to add some red to the sky. A little bit of oil. You don't have to have a ton of oil if you're glazing, just a little bit, you know. Doesn't need to be swimming in oil, let's put it that way. Okay, so what are we going to do over here? I think we'll keep the bright, I'll tell you what, I know, I'm going to keep the bright sky on the horizon. And I'm going to get some red in here. In fact, I will take it up to this tree because it doesn't matter. I can always re-establish the tree. Just a little bit across there. The beauty of glazing, you see, you can be quite relaxed about it. Let's have a little touch over there maybe. Down to the tree again. Just sort of butt it up to the tree. They'll get more interesting when you merge them together. All the way down there, push it as far as you can go. A little bit of green in the sky, it does not matter one tiny bit. Let's have some up there. A few hints of it across there. Okay, and then let's see what happens when I go over that with the big blending brush. Now I say blending brush, it's just the brush that I'm using for blending. It wasn't designed to be a blending brush, it's designed to be a French decorating brush for scrubbing paint into difficult places where you don't really care what happens to the brush, type brush. So just a, you know, little update on my view on brushes. You can pay unbelievable amounts of money for brushes. Do you need to? I don't know. I mean, what do you think? This one cost €3, and it's doing the job of a brush perfectly well. I won't be able to work on many paintings with it, but I don't feel the need to spend €500 on a brush, which you can. You can spend that much on some watercolour brushes, particularly. In fact, I remember seeing one in a shop in Richmond, the edge of London, 40 years ago, and a bit, maybe 45 years ago. It was a watercolour brush in a shop, and it was £500 for one brush. And I remember thinking, okay, do I have more sense than money? Anyway, I wasn't really into watercolour, but I was just fascinated by the cost of the brush. Now you could say, well, that's a really good quality brush and you'll be able to paint hundreds and hundreds of pictures with it. Maybe you would be able to. But it still doesn't, it's not enough to convince me anyway. It's generally the case that oil painting brushes aren't awfully expensive. And for some reason, acrylic brushes seem to be more expensive. But an acrylic brush can be used for oil painting. This can be used for oil painting. This is really cheap. This comes, you know, all part of the built-in equipment. So, you know, I don't worry about it too much. Anyway, let's get back to the paint. I've got this nice rosy effect round there. I quite like that. I might just leave it that strong in that particular place. So before I get onto the edges of the trees, what I want to do, I'm going to zoom in to the area that I'm talking about. Right, so that area, I've obviously darkened it, but now I want to sort of open it up again. I've brought it closer to us. And I know that there are light areas underneath there. So using a piece of paper, I can gradually bring some of them back, like so that they are little pools of light in the shadow, which I think is a lot more interesting. That's my fingernail scraping in there, which can produce some quite interesting effects. Okay, now the darkness is maintaining the mid-foreground effect, and it's accentuating the lighter bits and pushing them further away. That's the plan anyway. So the tree, I like the darkness of the tree. I don't know whether I want to do much to that. I'm just going to have a little dab with a piece of paper to see what's in there. Yeah, there's a little bit of light just there, that's quite nice. And a little bit just here maybe. Yep, that's good. Now, I'm going to just smudge these together a bit. When I say these, I mean the foliage and the sky. The foliage and the sky have got their own pronouns. They are these and they and them. Okay, so there we are. We've got a little bit of tree showing up through the glaze. That's coming along. That's actually exactly what I wanted. I was going to go over this with a dark brush on the edges, but I'm not sure that I will now. I really like this sort of soft, slightly ethereal look. Just have a bit more light there. Yeah, I think I might leave that. Now this here, you see I darkened that. That's slightly wet. I could, there's several ways of doing this. I could use a piece of paper and I could just sort of do this. Like so. Which I have done now. So it's not that I could do it, I did do it. And I am liking that. Now, what can we do in the foreground to get the viewer really? What do I want the viewer to do? Do you know what I'm trying to do? I'm trying to get a sort of slightly oldie world look. I like the look of old paintings, always have done. I like some modern stuff too, but not so much. You know, I'm a bit of a traditionalist, I suppose. Okay, so that's sort of got some interesting plane changes, you know what I mean. Okay, over to the other side. Let's do a little bit of something there. Right, so we've simplified there a little bit, and some people will say I've completely ruined the painting, but that's okay, you can think that. Over here, I want to get this in the same character that has got. Same small brush, sap green, red ochre, Payne's grey, and I want to simplify some of these shapes. Well, actually, I want to simplify, but I also want to make it look as though it's got more going on. So it's not, it's not quite simplifying. It's I'm trying to make it more interesting. Let's put it that way. Let's just see what happens. So there's a bit more of a stronger hedge type thing going on there. And these trees here, let's have a taller one there. I'm not going to touch the sky there, so I can actually break the skyline with a nice tall poplar type tree. Not popular, but poplar. Okay, that's quite, what's the word? Don't know what it is. If you think of the word, let me know. There we go. They've got a bit of a slightly haunting look about them. Yeah, that's cool, like that. Let's have another one there. So now we can see a lake the other side of the trees, or something like that. What am I going to do over there? Oh yeah, I've just seen something here. Now, I know some trees lean, but I don't like the lean on that. I want to just sort of pull it slightly to the right. I think that's probably it, you know. I may have actually achieved my goal, except for, see, I do that. I think I'm coming to the end, and then I'm not. Now I don't know how many paintings, I've lost track. I don't know how many paintings I've altered in this, but I think it's 1, 2. Just looking around the studio, 3, 4, 5. It's going to be 5 or 6. I don't know what number I gave you at the beginning, but I think the number's changed, and that's just down to my energy levels. So this tree here, I'm going to just sort of give that a little bit more of a whatever that is. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's going the right way. Got a bit of light touching that edge. Funny things, trees. Now, why did I say that? Funny things, trees. Absolutely, I really love trees. Something about them. They've got a sort of mysterious feel to them. That's what I've always thought anyway. Okay, so I'm quite happy with that little tree sitting there. Right, so over on that other side, I think I just want to do this and then I'm going to stop. So while I'm finishing this off, I'll do my usual spiel. I know that not everyone is still here, but if you are, thank you very much for hanging around. And if you become a patron via my Patreon page, you could end up with one of these. The only thing that I ask is the cost of the postage, that's all. It's my way of saying thank you, because all these really nice people donate money so that I can survive, basically. So I can buy paint, I can feed my cat, which is extremely important to me. And Yeah, I find cats as mysterious as trees. What else? If you want to come to a Zoom class, the link's below. If you don't want to come to a Zoom class, why the heck not? But never mind. And what else? If you like the video, please click the like button and the subscribe button, and also the little bell icon. That will let you know when I put a new video up. If you've got any questions, ask away. I always like to read the comments. I don't get a chance to answer them all, but I do my best. Sometimes people ask me questions which don't really require me to answer. You could try Google. Some of the questions are a bit seem unnecessary for me to answer. And the one, actually, I did mention it earlier, but the one I keep getting is, can I do this with acrylics? I don't know. Can you? Have a go. And the other question that I get asked is, how long will it take to dry? Honestly, again, I don't know. Depends how much oil you've put in it, atmospheric conditions, all kinds of factors. But don't heat your painting to try and make it dry faster. That's one of the worst things you can do. Oil paint dries through oxidization, not evaporation. So, and if you varnish a painting, I made this mistake. It totally skipped my mind. I knew it, but I did it. During the summer, I had a painting. I'd varnished it, and I wanted it to dry really quickly. And I didn't intend to leave it in the sun too long, but I did. I forgot about it. And the varnish basically just ran. In other words, it drips the varnish all over it because it melts the varnish. Don't try that. If you varnish a painting, let it dry somewhere just in a room where it's not too hot, not too hot, not too cold. So anyway, yeah, there we are. I think I'm done now. I'm going to put this together, try and get it onto the onto YouTube. Toot sweet. And maybe I'll get to talk to you later. There we go. So thanks for being here. Hope you've enjoyed it. And bye for now.